Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to your practice for today. So, I do have a couple blocks and a belt, and I also have a chair. So, if you don't have any blocks handy, you can use a chair or you can also use books. And I'll give a couple options for using the chair and for using the blocks if you should need them. Let's start in a comfortable seated position where we can sit up tall. And you can also use a pillow or a towel if you want to slide it underneath your bottom so that you can really feel that you can sit as tall as you can without finding any too tight of areas, especially in the hips. And let's just draw the wrists onto the knees if your legs are crossed, or just hands onto the thighs. Remember to sit in the most comfortable way since we will be here for a few moments. And if you'd like, you can even turn the palms up towards the ceiling if you need a little bit more energy. And close the eyes if that feels good, and take a moment here. So we can use our practice for a variety of reasons. You might be using it for just the physical exercise or for the flexibility, or maybe this is kind of your me time where you're taking a break from your day, both physically, mentally, and even emotionally, to kind of use your practice to clean things out, to reset, to refresh. So, whatever your reason is for your yoga practice, just hold that in your heart, and maybe that will be your intention for today. But if you would like to set a different intention or even have your practice dedicated to somebody, feel free to do that as well. And we'll just take a few more moments here. Find your Ujjayi breath. Let your Ujjayi breath consume your mind so that your breath is maybe the only thing that your mind is focused on. Don't worry if your mind wanders. You can use your breath as that anchor for your mind. Let's draw the palms of the hands together at our heart center. And here you can formally set your intention or dedication. And then let's open the eyes if they're closed. Namaste. Always a pleasure to practice with you. Let's place the hands onto the thighs. We'll just start with some easy spinal circles. Seeing how the body's doing, exploring how the back is doing, especially. Let's change the direction of our circles, and remember to modify or skip anything that doesn't feel good, especially if you have any injuries or any pains. Go at your own pace, take as many breaks as needed, and you can even pause the video if you need to. Let's sit up tall, circle those arms out and up, take an inhale, exhale, draw the hands to the heart. So just do that a couple more times. Hands to the heart, and then one more time. And hands to the heart. Let's change the crossing of the legs if your legs are crossed, and grab your belt. So it's just a normal standard belt. And we'll place a loop in the belt about shoulder width or slightly narrower. So you can even have it a little narrower. And then we're going to place our hands, I feel like I'm doing a magic trick, place the hands into the loop and have the belt on the wrist. And then draw the shoulders down. So palms are facing each other. And if you do feel like it's a little too close at any time, like I am going to do, I'm going to separate them. So if you do have any shoulder concerns, please be mindful, modify, back off, or even skip, and we'll draw those arms, the shoulders down, then the arms down. We're straightening the arms as best as we can, and we are engaging through the belly. So sitting up tall, spread those fingers nice and wide, and let's draw the arms to about height of the shoulders or parallel to the floor. So this might be the height that you'll stay with, and that's totally fine. Remember to keep those joints happy. If it's okay to lift the arms a little bit higher, you can, to a comfortable point where you're not lifting the shoulders. So keep drawing the shoulders down and keep a lot of tension in the belt. So if we don't want to relax the arms in the belt to slip. I have a really heavy buckle on mine, so I don't want that to hit my head. So keep drawing those arms apart and breathing here. So find what works best for you. Lots of energy in the arms. Keep moving the shoulders down. And then let's slowly draw those arms forward and then back down. Inhale, arms forward and up. Keep the shoulders down to your comfortable height, and then exhale, release it down. So everything else stays still tighten up through the core. One more time. Inhale is to lift. And then exhale is to draw back down. And then we'll release the hands out from underneath or out from inside the belt. Just place the belt down. And then let's give ourselves a hug, whatever arm on top. Reach for the shoulder blades, pull the shoulders down. Just an easy stretch, still kind of warming things up. And then just change the crossing of the arms. Just a little counter stretch. And breathe here. All right, let's go back. Hands into the belt. Pull the belt tight. Palms facing each other. Let's slowly lift to your comfortable height. Remember, that can just be forward. And then let's come into a little side stretch. So nothing too deep to start. Just holding here for a moment. A lot of core work here, making sure you're not twisting. And then let's come up and then over to the other side. Finding that Ujjayi breath. Remember, not too deep of a side bend, just enough so you feel the work. Let's come back to center. Release those arms down. Take a breath. And then this time we'll draw the arms forward, shoulders down. Take an inhale. And then exhale, twist over to one side. Still pulling the belt apart. You'll feel the work in the outer shoulders. And then come to center and over to the other side. And then let's come back to center. Release those arms down. Release the hands out of the belt. Place the belt just off to the side. Inhale, seated cow pose. And then exhale, round. And just a couple more rounds on the rhythm of your breath. Getting some good spinal movement. And last time. And then round. Let's come back to center and turn just the head over to one direction. Looking for a nice stretch for the neck. Find your Ujjayi breath. See if you can relax the shoulders a little bit more. And then slowly over to the other side. Make sure the head stays atop the tailbone. And then let's come back to center. I'm going to give you the side view now. So let's come to a seated position with the feet planted onto the mat. Let's just take a venture into boat pose. So we'll sit up tall and then hinge it back. So maintain that strong flat back, that lift in the chest, and then you can extend the arms forward. Or if you need a little bit more assistance, you can place the hands underneath the legs. Breathing here. Slowly warming up through the core. Notice what starts to kind of lose or change. Try to really keep that strength in the core. Maintain that good neutral position of the spine and gently squeeze those inner thighs towards each other. Take another inhale. And then as you exhale, let's place the hands onto the shins and just round a little bit. So you can draw your head a little bit closer towards the knees. And then let's sit up tall. Let's go ahead and grab our belt once again. And we're going to take the belt to the balls of the feet and work a little bit on balance. So remember to skip whatever doesn't feel good or whatever doesn't feel like it would be safe for your body. So you are welcome to come in just a normal boat pose. Otherwise, finding your balance here. Let's take the hands to the strap or to your belt, and we'll straighten the legs any amount that feels good. Notice if you start to round, that'll affect your balance, so try to get that lift. And it's not just about the arms that are holding the legs up, it's about the legs, the hip flexors, and the core. So make sure you're squeezing through the lower belly. Find that lift in the chest. And then let's slowly, carefully release it down. Hands are just on the ankles or the shins and round through the spine, forehead to the knee. And then let's go ahead and lift on up once again. Inhale to sit up tall. Exhale, hinge it back. Find your balance, maybe straightening the legs a little bit more. We'll keep the right hand to the center of the belt and we'll start to twist over to the left. So left arm can draw a little bit back behind you. Feel the squeeze of the lower belly. Breathing here, negotiating your balance. Let's come back to center, change hands, and then over to the other side. Twisting, but still trying to get that lift in the chest. Breathing here. I can't straighten my right arm because of the curtains, but if you can, go ahead and straighten it. Come back to center and then slowly release the feet, release the belt off to one side, cross at the ankles. Let's come forward onto our hands and knees. let's slowly slither onto our bellies. Let's have the hands alongside the ribs, coming into cobra pose. Engage through the belly, and let's slowly lift any amount. And then we'll lift the hands, or if you'd like, you can lift the hands. Breathing here, working the muscles along the back of the body. Take another inhale, and then exhale, release the hands down. You can release the forehead either onto a block or a pillow or the mat, and then let's start to lift the legs. So we're not looking for too much height, just lifting a few inches so you feel the work along the back of the body. Release the legs down. Inhale into your cobra. Hands can stay down or you can lift. Breathing here. Still thinking about length of the spine. And then release. And then over to the legs. Still thinking about length. Thinking about directing the heels up towards the ceiling so the heels don't draw towards each other, and then slowly release. And then now let's do both. Into cobra, maybe the hands lift, maybe not, maybe start to lift the legs. Breathing. Looking at the back of the body, still engaging through the front part of the core, so navel pulls up into the spine. That'll help keep the length of the lower back. And then let's slowly release. Place the hands down. Let's peel ourselves up. Press it back to child's pose. And just taking a couple rounds of breath here in child's pose. And then as you're ready, let's slowly come on up and make your way into either puppy pose or downward facing dog. So inversion of choice. And then when you get there, whatever normal routine you'd like to make, or if there's a particular movement that feels good for today, you can. So finding either some movement, whatever feels kind of natural. Maybe you're circling or shifting forward and back. Maybe you're coming into stillness. So depending on how your body feels for today, what time of day it is, how warmed up you feel, taking just a couple rounds of breath here. And then let's slowly release those knees down to the mat and sit it back into child's pose. And then from child's pose, let's come through your inversion of choice, either puppy or downward facing dogs, spending maybe 1 or 2 more rounds of breath there. Just kind of feeling things out, warming things up. And then as you're ready, let's slowly make our way to the top of the mat. Come into a forward fold. And then while you're there, grab your belt, bend those knees. Let's slowly roll it on up. And then when you get to the top, let's take our belt in front of us, hands through the belt, palms facing each other, and let's bring those arms forward and up. Or forward, depending on how your body's doing. Take an inhale. And then exhale, easy side bend. Make sure the hips don't twist. So nothing too deep. The hips can go in the opposite direction as the arms. Feeling some opening along the sideways. Let's come back to center, over to the other side. And then let's come back to center, release arms forward and down. Let's take the strap. I'll mirror you in your right arm. We'll draw the right arm up by the ear and then bend at the elbow so that the belt falls right along the spine. Opposite arm, thumb down, either hand onto the hip or you can reach for the other end of the belt. I'll just give you the back view for a sec. And then keeping that top elbow alongside the head pushes back into the arm and find your stretch. So you can reach that backhand as high as is comfortable, but if you do have any shoulder concerns, please modify. Take an inhale here. Feel the opening of the chest, and then as you exhale, let's lean it over to your left. So opposite direction of the top arm. Notice if you're starting to round through the spine, keep that chest lifted. If you do have any rounding, you can release that back hand a little further down so you feel some openness, a little bit more openness. Let's come back to center, release the back hand. Let's straighten the top arm and then swing it around, over to the other side. Opposite arm lifts, arm by the ear, bend at the elbow. So elbow kind of hugs alongside the body. Opposite arm out, thumb down, either hand onto the hip or reach it back and up towards the belt, being mindful of the shoulders. Find that neutral position in the spine. Keep pulling in the belly. Take an inhale and then exhale. Let's side bend over to your right. And breathe here. You might feel a little play with the balance, especially if your feet are together. One last round of breath. And then let's slowly come on up. Release the back hand slowly. And then straighten the top arm and release it out and then down. And then you can shake out through the shoulders, do a few little shoulder circles. All right, I'm going to place the belt down at the top of the mat. And then I'm going to come to the top of the mat. Let's find ourselves in mountain pose. Inhale, arms up. And then exhale, dive it down. Inhale, halfway lift, draw the heart forward. Exhale, let's step it back to plank. Just doing a few sun salutes. Coming into plank just for a moment to set up your plank so you can go right into it next time. And then maybe you're staying here. Maybe you're going straight back to downward facing dog if you'd like a little bit more. Knees can be up or down as you shift a little bit forward, keeping the elbows alongside the body and the shoulders draw back. Release down halfway or to your belly. Inhale into your cobra. And then exhale. Let's all meet in downward facing dog. Taking a few rounds of breath here. Maybe if you still need a little bit of movement, pedaling through the legs. And then on the next inhale, bend the knees, look forward. And then exhale, make your way to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Let's rise all the way up. And then hands to the heart. Let's do 2 more rounds. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, dive it down. Inhale, halfway. And then exhale, step it back. Your option, maybe it's straight back, downward facing dog. Maybe it's plank hold. Maybe it's shifting a little bit forward and flowing through your vinyasa. So lots of options. Take what feels good to you. And then when you come into downward facing dog, just taking a few rounds of breath here. Maybe releasing the head if that feels good, or finding a little bit of movement with the head. And then bend the knees as you inhale. Exhale, make your way to the top. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Let's rise all the way up, bending those knees as much as you need to. Hands to the heart. 1 more round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, dive. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, step it back to plank. Your option, straight back down dog, plank hold, or flow through your vinyasa. Shifting forward, lowering halfway or all the way. Inhale, lifting into your back bend. Exhale, downward facing dog. 3 rounds of breath here, or child's pose, whatever feels good for you. Maybe even exhaling out the mouth a couple times if you feel some heat is building up and you want to release it. And then bend those knees, look forward as you inhale. Exhale, make your way to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Let's rise all the way up. And then hands to the heart. Let's take a moment here. Let's separate those feet a little bit wider than the hips. And then draw those arms back behind you. Either hands onto the hips, thumbs towards each other. Belt behind you with the palms facing forward. If it is okay to interlace the fingers, go ahead and interlace. And we'll open up through the chest as we inhale. Exhale, bend through those knees. Kind of slowly releasing down into a forward fold. Resting the rib cage onto the thigh. So even if you really need to come almost into a squatting position, go ahead and do so. So we are supporting the lower spine, looking more for an openness for the chest, for the shoulders,
counter stretch for those wrists, and a release for the lower back. So not looking for super straight legs. We'll stretch the backs of the legs a little bit later. Last round of breath here. And then let's slowly release. Arms down to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, bend those knees, plant the fingertips down. Here's a nice opportunity to use blocks if you have them, or even if you have a chair, you can place the hands onto the chair. Make sure the chair doesn't slide. And then let's start with stepping the left foot back. So coming into a runner's lunge, high runner's lunge on the chair if you'd like, or using blocks or books underneath your hands, or just hands onto your mat. Finding a runner's lunge, and you always have the option of relaxing that back knee down. Taking a breath here and then powering through the legs. And instead of just allowing those hips to sink down, let's get a little bit of lift. So engaging through the belly and breathing here. Now it's up to you. You're welcome to stay here. If you want a little bit more challenge, we'll draw the arms alongside the body. So the chest is really low. Working those legs. Palms facing each other if the hands are lifted. Maybe you'll feel a little shakiness. Breathing here. If your hands are lifted, go ahead and release them down. Let's all release that back knee down and come into a twist. Circle the right arm back and up. Maybe the gaze is following that right hand as you start to slowly reach it to a comfortable point. Finding your Ujjayi breath. Making sure that right knee stays atop the right ankle. And then let's slowly take that right arm forward and down. Let's curl those left toes under so you can lift the left knee. Take an inhale. And then as you exhale, come to a forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale. Let's go over to the other side. Remember, hands can stay on the chair if you have one, or on the blocks. Right foot steps back. Runner's lunge. Get those feet hip width distance. Start to release the hips down just enough so you feel a mild sensation of a stretch, but not so much where we're sagging those hips. So engage through the belly to get a little bit lift so you are working through the core. And then maybe you're staying here, working the strength of the legs. Back knee can be down if you like, or maybe arms alongside, palms facing each other, back of the neck is long. Enjoying those wiggles and shakes if you feel any. Working those legs and the core. If the hands are lifted, go ahead and release them back down. Let's set that back knee down. Coming into the twist, find that length in the spine, and then let's circle left arm back and up. Maybe the gaze follows. Find the height of the arm that is comfortable for your shoulders. Breathing here. And then let's slowly draw that left arm forward and down. Curl those right toes under. Lift the right knee, take an inhale, and then exhale. Let's step back to the top of the mat. Place the blocks a little bit closer towards the top edge of the mat. Let's start to bend those knees and find a little yogi squat. So if your feet need to be adjusted, feel free. So either high squat, or if the joints are okay, maybe a little bit of a low squat. Taking a moment here. And then let's slowly place the hands down and grab your belt, bend those knees, slowly roll it on up. All right. And then with that strap, let's take our hands into the loop. Same thing as we've been doing, palms facing each other. Standing at the top of the mat, drawing the shoulders down. Right leg will be the standing leg, going right into our balance. It doesn't have to be too deep to start. So coming into a version of Warrior 3. So as you hinge forward at the hips, left leg draws back and up, and arms reach forward or even forward and up. So it doesn't have to be too deep of a Warrior 3. Just kind of testing how the balance is doing. Try to keep those hips even. Warrior 3 is not only about strength and balance, but it's about flexibility. So if you're pretty tight in the back of the legs, like I am, you can put a generous bend in that standing leg. And then let's slowly come back.
upright. You can put a generous bend in that standing leg, but if you are pretty tight like I am, it can hinder you from the depth of your warrior three. So just come to a point that feels good, mild sensation of a stretch, and let's do this other side. Stand up tall, find your breath, spread the toes of the left foot nice and wide. And then let's start to hinge forward at the hips. And as we do so, right leg lifts back and up, arms extend forward or forward and up by the ears. Keep the shoulders even, back of the neck stays long. Find your Ujjayi breath. Maybe it's a little greater bend in that standing leg. Last round of breath here. And then let's slowly release, shake it out. All right, now we're going to do warrior three again with a different position of the arms. So let's have the strap or the belt in your right hand. That same openness that we did before. Right arm up by the ear, bend through the elbow. Press the head into the arm so we're not drawing the head forward and affecting our posture. And then left arm out, thumb down. Maybe it's hand on the hip, or maybe you're reaching up. Comfortable for the shoulders. Move the shoulders down. Remember to back off, modify, or skip, especially if you have any joint concerns. And then let's come into mountain pose. Take an inhale. Exhale out the mouth. And then find your Ujjayi breath. And let's hinge forward at the hips. Left leg draws back and up. Keep that chest lifted. Make sure the head does not bow forward, but it's pressing up into that right hand or right lower arm, forearm. Breathing here. Finding a point to steady your gaze on. And then let's slowly, upright. Shake it out. Extend that right arm up. Slowly release the arms out and down. Woo-hoo. Let's move over to the other side. Belt in the left hand. Let's draw the left arm up. Bend the elbow. Draw the elbow alongside. Press the head into your arm. And then right hand onto the hip, or slowly start to reach it back. So I have a little concern with my right shoulder. So I'm just going to keep my hand relatively low. Notice if you're overarching through the spine, draw it in, and then take an inhale. Exhale out the mouth. Find your Ujjayi breath. Let's move over to this side. Hinge forward at the hips. Right leg draws back and up. Keep the chest lifted. Push the head up into the arm. Your gaze is several feet in front of you. Work in the balance. Try to keep those hips even. Finding your Ujjayi breath. You'll notice one side is a little bit more balanced than the other. And then let's slowly upright. Release gently out and then down. Let's place the belt off of the mat. Inhale, arms lift up. Exhale into your forward fold. And then when you get there, let's come into a sustained forward fold. Separate those feet a little bit wider than the hips. Bend those knees. And then maybe you're coming a little bit higher. Maybe your hands are on the blocks. Maybe you're just allowing yourself to fold forward, keeping your hands resting on something. Release the head if that feels good. If you like a little counter stretch for those wrists, you can place the backs of the hands onto the mat just to the outside of the feet with the fingertips pointing towards the back edge of the mat. Nice. And then when you're ready, let's slowly inhale, come up halfway, almost just peeling yourself away from the thighs. And then exhale, let's step it back to downward facing dog. I gotta crack my ankles a little bit. So anytime you come into a pose, if there's additional movement you need to make or you'd like to make, then go ahead and do that.
Let's start to step the feet a little bit closer together. Inhale, right leg lifts back and up, bend the knee, open the hip, shoulders stay even. And then let's straighten the leg as you inhale, score off the hips. And then as you exhale, shift forward into plank, knee to rib cage, round through the spine, and then step or carry that right foot in between the hands. If it doesn't make it there, use your own hand to assist. Spin the left heel down, coming into a warrior two base with the feet, but we're not going to rise up yet. Pull the hips in, so right thigh is parallel to the long edge of the mat. So here, if you have blocks, you can place the blocks at any height. If you don't have blocks and you have a chair, then it's a nice way to kind of get a little bit more space, elevate yourself. So blocks or just on the mat or chair. So from here, we're slowly going to straighten that right leg, any amount until you feel your mild sensation of a stretch, and then rebend. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, rebend. So the hips are going to want to point towards the front edge of the mat. See if you can still maintain kind of warrior two hips as best as you can. Next, inhale, straighten. And then exhale, rebend. Nice. And then from here, I'm going to go place my hands onto the blocks. We'll come into a runner's lunge. We'll keep the left hand down. Remember, you can place it on the chair if you need to. And come into a twist. Right arm back and up, reaching up. Pull the shoulders down. We're not sagging through the hips. That lift, that engagement to the lower belly. Maybe stay here, or maybe lift the left hand off of the block. And breathing. Working through that right leg. Release, left hand down, right hand down. If you do have your hands on the chair or on the blocks, go ahead and place the hands back onto your mat, and we will step it back. Three-legged dog. Reach that right leg back and up, and then set the right foot down. And then your option, maybe stay here, maybe child's pose, maybe flow through a vinyasa, making sure that if you do have a chair, that you are steering clear of the chair. And then let's come back to downward facing dog, move over to the other side. So left leg back and up, bend the knee, open the hip. Inhale to straighten the leg, score off the hip. Exhale, shift forward into plank, knee to nose or rib cage round, and then step or carry that left foot in between the hands. Spin the right heel down, warrior two base. Pull your bottom in underneath you, and then hands on blocks or chairs, or a chair. And then on the next inhale, let's straighten the left leg until you feel your mild sensation. And then exhale, rebend. Notice if that right hip is coming down like mine. Let's open it up. So inhale, straighten any amount. Exhale, rebend. One more time, inhale, straighten. And exhale, rebend. And then let's come into a runner's lunge. So start to lift the right heel up. All 10 toes pointing forward, separate those feet. Start to lower the hips, but not sag them down, so engage through the lower belly. And then let's circle this left arm out and up, coming into your twist, where you're welcome to stay here. Back knee down, always an option. If you'd like a little bit more, engage through the core, and maybe take your right hand off of whatever surface it is on. Finding your balance, finding your twist. Ooh. Last round of breath here. Maintain the integrity of the pose of the spine. Take the right hand down. Take the left hand down. All right, and then from here, let's remove the blocks or place the hands back onto your mat, and then shift it back. Three-legged dog, left leg back and up. And then release left foot down. Downward facing dog. Maybe stay here if you want a little bit more. Coming into your vinyasa, or maybe just doing a plank hold. And then when we get to downward facing dog, let's release the knees to the mat and sit it back into child's pose. From child's pose, let's return to downward facing dog. Stepping those feet a little bit closer together. Inhale, right leg back and up. Exhale, bend the knee, open the hip. Inhale, straighten the legs, square off the hip. Exhale, shift forward into plank, knee to nose. So use the core to step or carry that right foot in between the hands, spin the left heel down for warrior two base. Grab your belt. And then when you're ready, let's have the belt in the right hand. Engage the belt. You can press off of your right thigh or you can circle it all the way up to reverse warrior. Make sure you don't drop the belt. Breathing here. And then let's slowly upright the spine. We'll have the belt in the right hand. Draw the right arm up. Same pattern that we did before. Bend at the elbow. Whoop, the buckle's getting caught. And then left hand down, either on the hip or reach back and up. Turning the shoulders and the hips as best as you can to be parallel with the long edge of the mat. And then let's come back into reverse warrior. Take an inhale. Stay for the exhale. Bending that right knee, stag and track it. One more full round of breath. And then let's upright the spine. Take an inhale. And then as you exhale, straighten the right leg, coming into triangle pose. Take another inhale, lengthen. If you need to walk this back foot forward, you can. And then as you exhale, let's come into triangle. Hips draw back, reach. Lots of length for that right sideways. Doesn't have to be too low of a triangle since we're just floating. Find that mild sensation of a stretch in that right leg. Try to keep the integrity of the side waist so we're not rounding or side bending too much through the spine. Keep pushing the head into the arm, the upper arm. And then let's slowly start to bend through the right knee, press into the right heel, upright the spine. We'll slowly release arms out. And then you can drop the strap to the top of the mat. Extend those arms out. Let's come into our half moon pose. So you can heel toe this left foot forward, find your balance. So if you do have a chair handy, you can just come up onto the chair, or you can use a block, or you can place the hand back down onto your mat. So your choice, the depth of your half moon pose, or maybe you're working with the balance and just taking your bottom hand to the thigh or to the shin, just not the knee or the ankle. And then if you do have your right hand up, release it down. And then let's place the left hand down onto the chair or your blocks. So whatever height feels good for you. And then we'll cross the left ankle behind the right. So shoulders and hips square to the top edge of the mat and bend those knees, fold forward. So we've got lots of props in our house to use. Your choice of which one you'd like to use. And then put a generous bend in those knees so you can reach the floor or reach your blocks or the chair. And we'll slowly step the left foot back, plant the palms down, and slowly step the right foot back. If you'd like, you can add a vinyasa or a child's pose, depending on what type of practice you'd like. And then let's just go over to the other side. So I will give you the back view of the pose. Let's inhale, left leg back and up. Exhale, bend the knee, open the hip. Inhale, straighten the left leg, square off the hips. Exhale, shift forward into plank, knee to nose or chest as best as you can. That'll help to get that left foot in between the hands. But if it doesn't make it there, go ahead and use your hands. And then take the strap into your left hand, press or circle your way up to reverse warrior. Take a moment here, make sure the alignment is good. And then let's come back, warrior two. And then from here, let's take the strap into the left hand, or the belt into the left hand. Draw the left arm up, start to bend, elbow. Press the head into that left arm, and then right hand wherever feels comfortable. So this is my lucky shoulder is the right one, so I'm going to stay relatively low. And then let's come into reverse warrior. Nice stretch here. Let's upright the spine. We'll straighten the left leg. Maybe walk that back foot forward if you need to. Take an inhale.
And then as you exhale, triangle pose, draw those hips back and up, and we're just leaning just a little bit towards the top edge of the mat. Breathing here. Keep opening up the chest. Feel the head press into that left arm. And then let's start to bend through the left knee, upright the spine, release it out, and then down, drop the belt or toss the belt lightly to the top. And then coming into our half moon pose, start to heel toe that back foot forward, and then find the half moon pose of your choice. You can stay relatively high, or if you have a chair, or go a little bit lower on the block, or you can completely play with the balance by taking your left hand to the left leg. Let's place the left hand down, place the right hand down, either chair, block, or mat, and then square the hips to the top edge of the mat. Right ankle crosses behind the left. Bend those knees and release down to your forward fold. This time I'm going to move the chair a little bit further away. Notice if the hips are really twisting. Try to square those hips to the top edge of the mat. And then bend those knees so you can plant those palms. Let's slide and reach those right toes back. Reach the left foot back. Downward facing dog. Maybe stay here, maybe another opportunity for a vinyasa if that feels good for your body. Always listening to your body and doing what feels good there. And then when you get here, let's release those knees down to the mat. Sit it back into child's pose. Take a moment here. And then from our child's pose, let's lift the head. Let's slither back forward onto our bellies. And then go ahead and relax down. So if you do have some blocks, just move them out of the way. Let's stack the hands and then place our forehead on the hands. All right, let's slowly start to lift the forehead off of the hands. And we'll come into a little bit of a Sphinx pose. Let's have the elbows a little bit forward of the shoulders. And then notice if you're a little over archy through the spine, have a little bit of engagement through the belly. And let's start to bend the left knee. So you're welcome to stay here, pressing into the elbows to get the lift of the chest, but also trying to peel the belly away from the mat. If you'd like a little bit more, reach your left arm back behind you, still pressing into that right arm. And then if you do have the foot, kicking the left foot into the left hand, opening up through the shoulder and breathing. You can also use your belt if it feels a little far away to reach the foot. Still opening, subtle or gentle back bend to your comfortable point. If you do have the foot, slowly release it and then release all the way back down. Stack the hands underneath the forehead. So find the height that works best for you. Remember, just mild sensation of the stretch. Let's lift the head so we can go over to the other side. Come into that Sphinx pose. Draw the shoulders back. Engage through the lower belly so you get a little bit of lift from the lower belly away from the mat, and then bend the right knee. So you're welcome to stay here. It's a nice stretch here for that right thigh. If you want a little bit more, press into that left arm. Maybe reach the right hand back. And then press into that right hand. That'll help to get you some lift for the chest. And breathing here. Nice. And then if you have the foot, slowly release. And then release all the way back down. Taking just another round of breath here. And then let's lift the head off the hands. Come back to that Sphinx pose. Bend both knees. Maybe you're staying here. If you want a little bit more, we'll reach one hand at a time and then press into your hands. Get some lift. If it feels good to lift the thighs off the mat, you can. Just make sure the knees don't separate wider than the hips. And if you do have any lower back concerns, feel free to just release those hands back down onto the mat. And then let's release softly down. Keep those knees bent. You can return the forehead onto the hands. Let's slowly windshield wiper those legs a few times, right and left. And then release those legs long. Let's slide the hands alongside the ribs, elbows in, peel ourselves up. Come into tabletop pose. Take an inhale. Exhale, round through the spine, cat pose. And breathing here. Nice counter stretch for the back of the body. And then slowly release. Let's draw your bottom off to one side. So we're sitting about in the center of the mat, and let's face the long edge of our mat. Let's go ahead and face the long edge of the mat. And let's start to separate those legs. So coming into a V shape. All 10 toes pointing up. Take an inhale. And then as you exhale, hinge it forward first until you find your mild sensation of a stretch. And then you're welcome to stay up high. You can even use blocks underneath. If you want a little extra stretch in the lower back, you can round through the spine. But first find that mild sensation of a stretch by hinging forward. And then you can round as long as you're supported by the mat with blocks or even the chair. Finding your breath here. And then let's slowly walk our hands back up so we can upright through the spine. We're going to use our hands to bend those knees. So the knees are pointing up. And then we'll have the feet separated, so a little bit wider than the hips. And we're going to turn over to one side. So if you're mirroring me, you'll turn over to your left. So we're turning over to our left, flexing the feet. And remember, if the knees don't like this, feel free to skip. And you can just come into a classic thread the needle pose, because this is where we're coming into our half pigeon pose. So flex both feet, try to center that lower leg, that front leg onto your mat, and then you can adjust this back knee as far back as feels comfortable. And we'll take an inhale, and then as you exhale, come forward any amount. So this is our half pigeon pose. If you have a nice bend in that back leg, if you're pretty open in the hips, you can come into your full pigeon pose, only if that is okay and appropriate for your body. Make sure you feel really grounded with your front buttock onto the mat. And if you find some space between that front buttock and the mat, then you can place a block or a pillow underneath or a towel, and breathing here. See if you can use your Ujjayi breath to relax your body, maybe even your mind, maybe even that space between your eyebrows. See if you can lengthen it by softening through the face, maybe increasing the depth of your breath. And then let's all make our way back to half pigeon pose if you are in half or single pigeon pose. If you're in thread the needle on your back, go ahead and switch over to the other side. So let's draw that back knee a little bit closer to that front foot if it's not already there. And then we'll sit up tall and windshield wiper those legs through center and over to the other side. Centering now the opposite leg onto the mat, maybe starting with that knee, back knee pretty close to the front foot and folding forward, or maybe you're starting to move it a little bit back behind you carefully. If you're pretty open, you can start to straighten that back
leg, rolling onto the back thigh, coming into single pigeon pose, making sure you feel supported in the pose wherever you are. And if this side doesn't like pigeon pose, then you can come onto your back and come into thread the needle, crossing the ankle over the thigh. Let's take about 3 more deep rounds of breath here. See if you can relax those areas a little bit more. Last round of breath. Let's slowly come on up. If you're in your single pigeon pose, bend that back knee so it can meet that front foot. And then let's come back to center. Let's turn to face the front of our mat. And you can kind of shake those legs out. Let's take one more stretch for the backs of the legs. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, you can round through the spine, looking for a nice, easy stretch along the back of the legs and along the lower back. Let's walk the hands back towards us. Bend your right knee, step the right foot onto the opposite side of the outside of the left leg. Take an inhale to sit up tall, and then exhale, nice easy twist. You can use your left arm to hug that right knee across the midline, maybe right fingertips back behind you for a little support, twisting to a comfortable point. And then slowly untwist. Let's switch over to the other side. Extend the right leg long, step the left foot to the outside of the right leg. Inhale to sit up tall, and then exhale, nice easy twist. Relax the shoulders down, looking to wherever feels most comfortable on the neck. And then let's slowly untwist. Draw yourself back to center. Let's center ourselves on the mat. Separate your feet a little bit wider than your hips. And then let's start to draw our upper half of the body in between the legs. And maybe you're reaching for the long edge of the mat or just extending those arms forward, releasing the head down to the chin if that feels good. And then while you're there, peace fingers around the big toes, arms on the inside of the legs. If it feels a little too far, hands can just be underneath the legs. Coming into our floating child's pose, working on the balance, maybe starting to extend those legs. Maybe bringing the legs together if that feels good, or bending the knees, taking a few moments here. Notice all the muscles that are involved to maintain your balance. And then however you want to roll onto your back is up to you, whatever is safest. So you can place the feet down and slowly release, or start to bend those knees, tuck the chin, and without releasing the head down, roll onto your backs. Come into happy baby pose. And then go ahead and release those feet down to the mat. I'm going to recenter myself on the mat. Actually have a knot in my shirt, so I'm just going to release that. So if you do have any impediments on the back of your body, your clothes, or even a bun, anything that would impede a really comfortable position on your back, go ahead and remove. Let's separate those feet wider than the hips. Allow the inner legs to rest against each other. Let's take the hands to the base of the skull, interlace those fingers, and then we'll lift the head so you can stretch out the back of the neck. And then slowly release it down. So the back of the head is right onto your mat. Let's open the arms out and then give yourself a hug, whatever arm is on top. And then reach for the shoulder blades and draw the shoulders down. Taking a moment here to feel a stretch along the back of the shoulders. We really worked the backs of the shoulders, the upper back today. So let's get a good stretch there. Let's slowly release, open the arms out. And then opposite arm on top. Give yourself a hug. Reach for the shoulder blades, move the shoulders away from the ears. And then let's slowly release, interlace the fingers, press the palms up. Maybe stay here, maybe over the head. Maybe you're lifting the rib cage up towards the ceiling, little arch in the spine if that feels good. Take an inhale and then exhale, release. Find neutral position in the spine. Find your most comfortable position for Shavasana. You can turn the palms of the hands to face up. That feels good. Or if it does feel better for the palms of the hands to face down, you're welcome to do that as well. Palms of the hands facing up just helps a little bit more openness from the shoulders, but I know sometimes it feels better to feel grounded. So whatever feels good for your body for your final pose of Shavasana, feel free to extend the legs long, separate those feet wider than the hips. Let's all take a deep breath in. Exhale out the mouth. And enjoy these next few minutes of your Shavasana. And slowly begin to deepen your breath. Put some movement into your fingers, into your toes. Then on the next inhale, you can stretch the arms to a comfortable point. As you exhale, hug the right knee into the chest, followed by the left. Give those knees a squeeze. And gently roll onto one side, coming into fetal pose. Then from fetal pose, slowly press your way up to a comfortable seat, head coming up last. Let's stack the hands atop our heart. Take a moment to feel gratitude.
to yourself for coming to your practice, or feel gratitude for anything that you are grateful for in your life. Let's draw the palms of the hands together at our heart center. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through your practice today. As always, it is a privilege and a joy. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.